Last night I saw one of the greatest quarters I have ever witnessed. A quarter from a company that I finally told you to buy not that long ago after fighting for ages. I'm talking about, yes, indeed, Palantir. They've got a big cybersecurity business and do some consumer packaged goods work, too. But they're mainly a defense contractor. Palantir brags about making its clients more lethal. And judging by their numbers, which included accelerated revenue growth and phenomenal margins, they're clearly accomplishing that goal. How strong were these results at Palantir? I'm going to quote CEO Alex Karp, who is immutable, indomitable. I don't know, one of those is. Quote, given how strong our results are, I almost feel like we should just go home, end quote. Now, there's a guy who's got bravado. All right, anyway, I like the bipartisan nature of not spending as much on defense hardware and training and instead relying on Alex and friends to get it right for you, and that's what they're doing. This one's a real crowd favorite, by the way. It's now up 198% for the year, and I bet it keeps running, regardless of who takes the White House. Congrats to Alex and friends.
Well, there you have it. I'm not quite sure Jim has quite grasped exactly what Palantir does yet, but it's clear to see he's grasped just how well the company is performing. It seems like everyone at CNBC can't get enough of Palantir right now.
Star of the day, Palantir, surging more than 20% to record highs, citing strong demand for its AI software, particularly from the U.S. government. It's not the only top AI firm now working with defense agencies. For today's Tech Check, our Deirdre Bosa has been digging into this growing trend. Morning, Deirdre.
Hey, good morning, Sarah and Carl. So what a difference a few years makes, right? Silicon Valley's relationship with government defense and intelligence went from the reluctant and the uncomfortable to really the strategic and the interdependent. A main driver is, of course, artificial intelligence. And two of the most recent examples, they come from Palantir as well as Meta. Now, on the Palantir earnings call last night, CEO Alex Karp said many times that their U.S. government business is booming. In fact, it grew 40% year over year. That was a sevenfold increase that let him raise full-year guidance.
Palantir's skyrocketing growth with U.S. government clients highlights a key shift. AI is no longer just tech. It's national security. Are we on the verge of a future where these tech giants wield influence at every level of government?
And like Sarah said, is now pushing shares to record highs. Karp said he's seeing the adoption of Palantir technology in every part of the U.S. government, including, quote, the White House, Congress, defense, Intel. Then there's Meta, this week announcing that it is opening up its Llama AI model to U.S. agencies for military purposes. Now, that's a big deal because it marks a major shift from policy that had banned the use of its technology for such efforts. In a blog post, Meta's president of global affairs, Nick Clegg, writing that the company now backs the responsible and ethical uses of technology in the global race for AI supremacy. It's not quite so straightforward, though, especially when it comes to open source models like Llama. Even though Meta has restrictions on their use, these are difficult to enforce because they're public. It's an open source model. Reuters reported last week that Chinese researchers developed an AI model for military use on the back of Meta's Llama. A Meta spokesperson took issue with this report and said that America must embrace open innovation or risk ceding its AI lead to China. Now, this is not a new argument. Many proponents of tech's integration with defense or military, they're increasingly arguing that collaboration is essential for national security, that the U.S. has to maintain its competitiveness, especially in the face of China's rapid technological ascent. But, guys, while there is Meta, Palantir, even OpenAI is reportedly pitching its products to the U.S. military. Not everyone in tech is fully on board. We don't have the total integration. When Google acquired AI lab DeepMind in 2014, it committed to borrowing its technology from military or surveillance purposes. Now, like Meta, Google could reverse that policy, but Google has really been the poster child of Silicon Valley's skepticism and reluctance when it comes to government collaboration and could face significant employee blowback, as it has in the past. But guys, let's bring it back to the bottom line, because if that is ultimately what matters most to these companies, then Palantir's blowout quarter, that tells us that there is big money at stake here. It's whether Silicon Valley can continue threading that needle between ethics and profitability.
Is this a turning point for Silicon Valley? Palantir's deepening ties with the government might signal that profit and national security aren't so separate anymore. Are we seeing a new era where tech giants reshape global power dynamics?
Tell you one interesting question of the morning, Dee, is whether or not dramatic spending cuts and efficiency pushes in government, say under an Elon Musk-led charge, would be positive or negative for some of these contracts.
Yeah, I mean, certainly for some of the defense startups like an Anduril, like a Palantir, which of course is now public, these are seen as beneficiaries if the Republicans win. But I would say that this is becoming more of a bipartisan issue, right? And it's the U.S. versus China, the democratic versus the autocratic development of AI. So it's really sort of crossing party lines here. And as you see this integration, more partnerships, and I think the Meta one was a really big deal. Yeah. OpenAI as well reversed its policy earlier this year, saying that they can use the technology because this is all about U.S. dominance and competitiveness in the face of international threats.
It really reminds me of what Alex Karp, the CEO and founder of Palantir, always says, which is our competitive edge in this country is software. So clearly that's what it's all about. Thank you, Deirdre.
Yeah.
If efficiency drives led by figures like Musk become a reality, it might mean fewer but more impactful contracts. For firms like Palantir, known for high-impact solutions, could this actually strengthen their position rather than weaken it?
The focus for big tech has been finding ways to monetize AI. And one use case that's emerging is actually the military. Check out Palantir shares surging 22% after the company cited a boom in demand for its AI software from the U.S. government. And it's not alone, as AI giants are working to expand their work with defense agencies. Deirdre Bosa, in fact, digging into that trend for today's Tech Check. Hi, Deirdre.
Hey, Kelly. So Silicon Valley's relationship with defense and military, it's evolving from the reluctant to the interdependent, largely thanks to, what else, artificial intelligence. That is on display this week from Palantir and Meta. And it'll be a question for other big tech names like Google as the race to develop and deploy AI technology as it becomes a bipartisan, autocratic versus democratic, U.S. versus China issue. On the Palantir earnings call last night, CEO Alex Karp, he really highlighted the opportunity. He said many times that their U.S. government business is booming.
The bipartisan support for AI in defense highlights a critical shift. If companies like Palantir lead this charge, are we seeing the foundation of a tech-military alliance that could reshape the future of global security?
It grew 40% year over year. That was a seven-fold increase. That let Karp raise full-year guidance and pushing shares to record highs today. Karp said that he is seeing the adoption of Palantir technology in every part of the U.S. government, including, quote, the White House, Congress, defense, intel. Then there's Meta this week announcing that it is opening up its Llama AI model to U.S. agencies for military purposes. Now, that marks a major shift from policy previously that had banned the use of its technology for such efforts. Earlier this year, OpenAI reportedly softened its own stance on the use of its technology for military applications.
The shift from Meta and OpenAI towards military applications highlights a new alignment in Silicon Valley, where defense partnerships are now viewed as key to both growth and strategic influence.
Now, Google, the poster child of Silicon Valley's skepticism and reluctance of government collaboration, this will be an interesting one to watch as we see more collaboration. When Google acquired AI lab DeepMind in 2014, Kelly, it committed to borrowing its technology for military or surveillance purposes. But as AI increasingly becomes an issue of national security and maintaining U.S. competitiveness in the face of China's ascent, will it also reverse course? It is certainly the one to watch, especially because of its turbulent history with government defense contracts, Kelly.
You know, Alex Karp has been such a kind of breakout player in this area who's unapologetic for their work with the government. And it seems as though he's almost giving voice to now what the rest of big tech is starting to do a little bit more quietly.
Yeah, and he's been saying it for a long time. There was an interesting response to a question on the earnings call last night where he said when they were getting started, people were worried that they were getting too many government contracts, and how that has changed and how Palantir has really helped build up an industry that extends beyond Palantir.
Alex Karp's unapologetic stance on government partnerships has positioned Palantir as a frontrunner in defense AI, carving a path that others in Silicon Valley are now tentatively exploring.
There's Anduril, of course, other startups in the space, but this development with big tech is really interesting. It's almost a throwback, too, to the way that Silicon Valley originally developed after World War II and in the Cold War. They've had, you know, a really close relationship with government in the past, but really in the 2010s, they grew further apart. So what we're seeing is maybe a return to that. And It's very interesting to watch, but really it's AI that is forming the backbone of this.
Investors love it as well. There's no better client than the government.
Exactly.
Steady revenues. Anyway, Deirdre, thanks very much. Deirdre.
AI is not just the future. It's shaping the present and forging a new relationship between Silicon Valley and the government. We're witnessing a return to the post-World War II dynamic, where tech and defense were tightly intertwined. Is this the beginning of a new era for government-tech partnerships? As the world becomes increasingly competitive, especially with China's rapid rise, AI might just be the backbone that secures U.S. dominance.